All right, so hold on. Let me just do this. I think we're all live. Say something, guys.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Red.
Hey, I
Red.
caught you. Look, guys, we did it. We're live. We're here. I'm in this frame.
Nice.
You're in that frame. It's good. We're all good.
We're all good.
We're all
that's,
good.
That's good.
Ryan, it is so bright where you are.
I'm trying to tone that down. I am seriously I don't know what's going on.
You have the whole sun directly outside your window.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay, so how?
It's the new laptop getting set
Nope.
up with the.
It is. That's got to be what it is. I mean, I'm a lot clearer, and I'm a lot more drowned out in apparently too.
Also,
I mean,
why did you guys not warn me that we're wearing pale colored tropical shirts on the show now?
Well, I mean, he's not wearing he's wearing a blue one. I'm wearing the pale one with the pineapples.
It's still kind of pale. You have pineapples on that? That's dope.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's because it's stupid lights drowning me out.
All
You
right,
can't see it.
Regardless, I'm wearing my T-Rex one next time. I'm so excited. We're all gonna match. It'll be great.
It's summer, so I'm just in Hawaiian shirt mode.
Oh, I like Hawaiian shirt, Alan.
I have enough Hawaiian shirts to get us through the rest of the summer without having to repeat.
I'm so proud of you. Who did I know? I used to know somebody that's her husband had a Hawaiian shirt collection, and she told it to me in the same way that someone tells me about her husband's drug addiction. Like, she was like, Devon,
Well, yeah.
I have something to, I think his name was I don't know, Dave or something. She's like, I have something to tell you about Dave. I'm like, what? She's like, he has a Hawaiian shirt collection. Like, what do you say to that? I went, neat.
There's a program. It's a 12-step program.
12-step program.
Yeah. It ends with a trip to Hawaii.
No, it'll make it worse.
All right, we ready to get started?
Let's do it, man.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And yeah, today we're talking about Devon's pick, Beverly Hills Cop. Just in time for Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Dropping on Netflix next week.
Yeah.
So, usually I'm the one producing the show, but this week I decided to make Devon do it because I've got a backlog of shows that need to get put out on our podcast feed. So Devon's in charge of the show today. So, for We Watch This segment, Devon, I'm going to throw it to you to produce away.
Sounds good. So I asked you guys, had you watched anything this week? And you both said no. I, unfortunately, had only watched Depp v. Heard on Netflix and am too embarrassed to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to.
That sounds about right.
I will say they just announced there's a Taylor Swift Scooter Braun documentary coming out on Max, which I'm all here for.
What is that?
It's about the reason she's doing the Taylor's versions.
Oh, no way. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that.
Yeah.
My version, I found out what my version of the Eras tour is. I don't know if you guys know about the band Ghost. This isn't a topic. It's just something you mentioned. There's a band called Ghost that's doing their version of the Eras tour now called Right Here, Right Now, and I'm so excited for it.
Ghost. If you have Ghost, you have everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, because
Take
none of us talked about anything, I actually did prepare some topics. They are broad-ranging, but roughly have to do with the view of the podcast. It's mostly entertainment news. The first one I just pulled up on screen right now. It might be a little bit hard to see, but guys, they just announced the new Jurassic Park franchise is going to be headed up by Scarlett Johansson. I don't know if you guys heard about this. I don't know how much of Jurassic Park or the new Jurassic World series you had seen, but I need me some hot takes because I am officially one movie behind, and I didn't know they were going to make more, and I'm not sure I want any more.
So, if I remember correctly, the marketing for Extinction was going to be the last Jurassic movie.
Right! Isn't that why they called it Extinction?
Yeah. And now they're doing another trilogy. I will say I'm excited that Gareth Edwards is directing.
Okay.
He's the one who did Rogue One and The Creator. So I'm excited that he's directing. Beyond that,
Meh.
meh.
I mean, apparently Scarlett Johansson was on record saying that the script for it is incredible. Which, why would she say anything else? Like, why would she be like, guys, I read the script. It's all right.
She said the same thing about Age of Ultron, though.
Did she really?
Probably.
She just said that because she was doing the Sun Goes Down line.
So
Ryan,
real low, big guy.
Ryan, how do you feel about New Jurassic? What world is this going to be? Universe? That's a dumb hacky joke. I'm sorry, I said it.
I didn't even catch the joke. What?
Oh, I was like, well, if it was park and then world, is this going to be universe? You get it?
I
get it.
Here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Studios are going to make movies that they know they're more than likely going to get a decent amount of money from. So I'm not surprised.
All right, cynical capitalism to end this fun talk. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's like
You're not wrong.
Like I was thinking about this over the weekend because I've realized that I'm in a lot of fandoms that people get really upset about things, and I just kind of shrug my shoulders and move on with my life with things that I should normally be like joining in the rest of the fandom and going, why are they doing this? And I have such
Star Wars.
yeah. So I mean, Star Wars, the main one, and then Star Trek, and all the way going through the rest of them, all the way down. Studios are going to make stuff to make money. That's all it is. And top names of franchises make money. So I'm gonna get upset when a studio goes, hey, we're not doing this anymore. We have 9 of these. We're good. And then 4 years later come out and go, oh, sorry, no, we are going to continue this because we want a payday. And I'm just going to shrug my shoulders and go, capitalism, and then move on with my life. Because if I don't like what I see, I can just ignore it and not watch it. And it doesn't affect me at all.
I mean, that's the mature, responsible way to look at it, certainly.
I just don't understand what the draw of this movie is going to be. Because Jurassic World had the interesting premise of the parks open and then things go south. And then they had the idea of the dinosaurs getting out into the world. And they didn't really deliver on that at all. So maybe they'll explore that a bit. But if I have to hear the words engine again or Hammond, and it's like, what's the world like with dinosaurs running around? Like, if you want to do that, great. I kind of wish they would just reboot the series and start from the beginning and just do the book correct. Like, do the book verbatim.
I have the book. It's like 3rd on my reading list. I cannot wait to like understand what you mean by that.
There's going to be a 45-minute shot of just a scientist talking about how DNA works, and I'm going to fall asleep in the theater.
No, the only thing they'll bring back from the original then is Mr. DNA for that scene.
Yes, good. And shirtless Jeff Goldblum, but not like as a character, more like as like a statue in the background of a shot or something. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Cool. So the other, I brought up 3 things. The next piece of news that I have is that Mr. Bill Cobbs, one of the main stars of Air Bud, has passed away. He's also in The Bodyguard and Night at the Museum. He's a pretty recognizable face. He's one of those actors that I don't think about too often until they're on screen. And then I go, oh, it's that guy. And
what was his name again? I missed that.
Bill Cobbs.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of those. Yeah, one of those actors that like every time you see, like, oh, that guy. Yeah, I love him, but like I don't.
Bill Cobbs.
Yeah, Cobbs. Yeah, he passed away recently, which is sad. Which is another one of the kind of series of losses we've had this year in Hollywood.
You bring up Air Bud for him. I feel bad for you, Devon.
I
That you see
almost-
this face, and that's the first thing you think of. Is
I
Air Bud.
almost only put a picture of Air Bud as the thing and not his picture for this segment. But I figured this was a lot more respectful because we are talking about someone passing away.
Yeah, just a bit.
Tact. I have it.
Yeah, surprisingly. I know it. Like, I think I knew him from the Drew Carey show because he showed up at the end of that show's run. He was
Did.
recurring. Yeah. No, I'm just looking back at his IMDb here. He was like on an episode of Everything
Yeah.
at some point.
He was in the 2011 Muppets movie that like only I have fond memories of.
I like that one.
I like that one a lot
I-
too.
I was just watching the SNL monologue that Jason Segel did around the time that came out, where it's him and the Muppets
Aww.
singing a song about how he's so excited to host SNL, and the Muppets are like, "We're so excited to host SNL." I was like, "Guys, no, it's just me." And they just roast him.
Oh, that's exciting. Ryan, any favorite film for Bill Cobbs? Oh, I lost your audio, I think. Try saying something? No, I can't hear you. It's very strange. Oh, and Alan's froze. I wonder if this isn't a problem on my end. Can you see Alan, Ryan? And Alan's moving for you? Let me see. What can I do to fix this? No. You know what? People on stream, give me 1 second to fix this. Just 1 sec here. No, you didn't. No, I actually. Whoop.
How quickly my computer booted back up.
That was really impressive.
So-
But hey, we're back.
Yeah. We're back.
I just I cut to the beginning thing, and they caught us back, or chat caught us back. So thank you. Okay,
Cool.
so last piece of news I have, and this one I promise is potentially more fun than the last one. Did you guys see the trailer for the new movie called Here, with Robin Wright and Tom Hanks, where they digitally de-aged them?
I did.
Tell me your thoughts. I need all of them.
It's an interesting concept. So the premise of the movie is it takes place in one spot over all of time, like from the prehistoric age to present day.
Wow.
And the camera doesn't move. So you get to see this house that's built there and the families that live there. I think it's a very interesting experiment with storytelling. I don't know how you can make a whole movie out of that. I don't know how much time it's going to be them actually building the house.
Right.
But this is from Robert Zemeckis, starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. Do you guys know the last film the three of them did together is?
No.
Was it Forrest Gump?
Forrest Gump.
That's really funny. They haven't done anything together since, though.
I mean, they've not as a trio. I don't
Sure.
think Robin Wright's and Tom Hanks have been in anything together with Zemeckis directing. But Zemeckis and Tom Hanks have done a lot of stuff. Like The Polar Express, where Tom Hanks played everyone. And Castaway.
So is them being de-aged like this, is that creepier than him in The Polar Express, or about on par? There's no better as an option.
I still think Polar Express is creepier.
I still need to see it. I mean, I get that it's supposed to be this like very charming, endearing kids movie, but all the online discourse about it being creepy has completely turned me off of it. But I feel like I need to experience it for myself at some point.
I think they do a good job with the de-aging here, and I think if you're having the camera locked down like they do from what the trailer looks like, I think that will help.
Yeah.
With the CGI, it makes it a little bit easier. So
I can see that. I just wonder if it's not going to be a bit boring from a single perspective. But like I've seen plays that kind of do the same thing, where like
isn't every play from one perspective?
I mean, kind of, but they'll change scenes at least sometimes.
It's still from a single perspective because it's you're sitting in a seat in a single spot watching.
Right, but they'll change the scene around it, like for the Stranger Things ones.
You are still watching from a specific view because you are seated and you're not moving. There is no, but they changed the scene.
Watch a play, Ryan. I will fight you on this one.
Times. No, what I'm talking about.
No, I get what Ryan is saying is that frame that you're watching the play in, that's the same.
Right.
Just like the frame that we're watching this movie in is the same. And like the set pieces will change. Like it's going to be a jungle, and then it's going to be a house, and then it's going to be a house 20 years later, and then it's going to be a house 30 years later. And there's going to be a house with no one in it because they're selling it because Tom Hanks is about to die. Like that's
right, but like for the movie to have any kind of pathos, like they can't they can show you like a fast forwarded version of like, here is a rock, here are the trees growing, here is the house being built. But they can't get into the drama of the dinosaurs.
I guarantee that somebody who's producing this film works for Ring webcams.
There's that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I sure hope so. Okay,
and
that's
Devon,
fair.
you're wrong on the argument. Let's just move on.
Okay, we'll move on. So that actually brings us to our main topic of the day, which is Beverly Hills Cop. This movie, to give you a very, very quick rundown of this classic, was made in 1984. It was, I mean, I guess it is technically R-rated. I was going to say it's R-rated for the time, but I probably counts as now. Directed by Martin Brest, who you guys might know as the director of Geely. And stars Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, who's always good to see in things, and John Ashton. This has made a list of, I think it's AFI's top 100 comedies of all time. I absolutely adored this movie as a kid. Thought it was incredible. I mainly wanted to watch it mostly because I want to see. It's one of those movies I want to come back to a bit like Joe Dirt. Or I want to go back to it and see, like, does this hold up? Is this as good as I remember? But also, as you rightly mentioned, Alan, Axel F is coming very, very soon. And I actually just learned this week that it was the 4th Beverly Hills Cop movie. I didn't know they made more than this one and Axel F. So I am a bad fan of this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't know they made sequels to
Had
this?
no idea. I think I've seen the poster of Beverly Hills Cop 2 and just assumed it was still Beverly Hills Cop 1, just like an alternate version of it where it's dusk now. But like that's, and I don't think I've ever seen anything on Beverly Hills Cop 3.
What
Have you seen? Okay, look. Have you seen the poster for Beverly Hills Cop 2? He's just like standing against the Beverly Hills sign, and it's like dusk out. And I'm like, oh, that must be a special edition
because
cover.
It's a separate movie.
Nope.
Beverly Hills Cop 2 After Dark. Beverly Hills Cop After Dark.
It's the X-rated version. I don't want to think about it. Anyway, guys, tell me about your history with Beverly Hills Cop. Have you seen it before? Have you heard about it? I know there's certainly an aspect of it that you know from pop culture. We have to talk about it, so we will. But what do you guys think of it? Or what do you guys think?
For me, I had never seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I may have seen part of 3, which I think takes place in an amusement park on like TBS or something like that.
Weird.
So I've seen that. I've never seen the original. But I know they've been trying to do something with it for years now. Like there was almost a spin-off TV show. And then that fell apart and then they started doing the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never seen it. I had a very different introduction to Eddie Murphy than this. So
I want to hear about that later too, because this was actually my introduction to Eddie Murphy, was this one.
Okay.
Ryan, what about you?
So I saw bits and pieces of this throughout the years because of just flipping through channels and have it being randomly on like USA or TNT, and just kind of like, oh, it's an older Eddie Murphy movie, and just moving on. So I haven't seen it all the way through before, but I've seen after watching it about half of it prior in like chunks. And again, with Alan, my introduction to Eddie Murphy completely different than this. So I was not expecting the movie that I got.
Wow.
To be honest.
I am really excited then. My sincerest hope is that both of your introduction to Eddie Murphy was the movie Norbert, but we'll find out. So what did you guys think of this movie in general? That was him, right? Eddie Murphy was that Norbert?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
My history with this movie is that I first saw this. My dad and I used to do this thing when I was on summer vacations, where we would. I mean, in my 11-year-old mind, we were staying up super late. In actuality, it was probably like 9:30 p.m. If I couldn't sleep, I'd wander out in the living room. He'd go, "Can't sleep," and I go, "Can't sleep," and he'd go, "All right, let's go." And we'd get in the car. We'd drive to Blockbuster. We would rent whatever movie he felt like watching. And then we would go to Taco Bell and get tacos, and we would eat tacos and watch whatever movie he wanted to watch, and this was one of them. So this is my introduction, which is kind of why it has like a nice place in my heart, because it's like a cute, like that's like some of my favorite movie experiences. But I love this movie, absolutely do. Watched it again, not as funny as I remember it being. A couple of very dated jokes in it that certainly didn't age well, but that's kind of comedy, right? So, I mean, yes, some of the jokes are insensitive. I won't completely give the movie a pass for it. It wasn't as funny as I remembered, but it was still an enjoyable movie. And damn it, the soundtrack got stuck in my head forever. So, what were your guys' thoughts on it, Alan?
I've been doing the Neutron dance ever since I started. I finished it. No, I agree. Like, it's funny. It's not as funny as I expected. Mm-hmm. And some of the jokes that are in it, like I'm surprised that I got. Like there's a moment we'll talk about later where he's just walking down the street and I say, "Oh, I get that joke," which I was surprised by. But no, it caught me. Like this was Eddie Murphy's. I think this was like Eddie Murphy's first big starring role in a film, right?
Oh, I think it might have been.
He had Trading Places came out the year before. But I'm not sure how popular that was.
But this was the first. Now, I think this was the first time he led a film though. Like he co-starred in that
Yeah.
with Dan Aykroyd. This was his first time on his own in something. So, this is the first time he's out on his own because he had 48 hours before that, Trading Places, and then Best Defense, which has like a 3.8 on IMDb, which I'm sure
Oh wow.
that there's a reason for that.
Well, I watched this with Romana, and her thing was this before or after Coming to America? It was 4 years before.
Yeah. The one that I never heard of is called Best Defense.
Uh-huh.
And it stars Dudley Moore with strategic guest star Eddie Murphy.
Strategic guest star?
If you want to know who the third actor in this is?
Who?
Kate Capshaw.
Oh.
She's the love interest from Temple of Doom.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was in anything else. Good for her.
I think it was this in Temple of Doom.
What a career.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible. Ryan, what did you think of this?
A lot better than I wasn't. To be perfectly honest, I was not in the mood for a Eddie Murphy comedy or to what I expect now from an Eddie Murphy comedy, because I've seen so many of them that I kind of burned myself out on him, like when I was like an older teenager, like young adult. He could be too high energy. He could be too high energy for me sometimes. And I was very surprised that this was like an actual cop drama with a little bit of comedy in it. And so like I really, really, really enjoyed it. To the point where as soon as done, I went in and watched the second one.
Oh, nice.
And then I stopped about maybe 35 minutes in because I was like, I'm getting bored of this now. And then I turned it off.
Hold on. I obviously I haven't.
It wasn't bad.
Okay.
I was enjoying it. It wasn't bad. I was enjoying it. It was just, I was getting, I don't know, maybe my ADHD was getting to me, and I was just like, my focus isn't here now. I need to do something else.
Just too much of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
So I got to know then, what was both of your introductions to Eddie Murphy then?
Ryan, what was yours?
Oh, no.
Without permission from my parents, I watched Eddie. I saw, obviously, it was a rerun of Eddie Murphy's Delirious stand-up when I was like 10.
Is it good? I don't know this.
You never heard of Delirious?
Okay,
no, never.
It's what put him on the map.
So have you ever seen? And this ties into the joke I was talking about that I got. That evidently you didn't.
No, I bet I didn't.
Yeah.
So there's a moment where he's walking down the streets in Beverly Hills, and there's these two guys walking past him, one in a black leather suit, another one in a red leather suit.
Yeah, and he giggles.
He just starts laughing.
Yeah.
Laughing. Do you know why he's laughing?
I thought it was because, Hollywood, look at how silly they're dressed. I apparently am very wrong.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Google right now, Devon, Eddie Murphy Delirious. And see what image comes up.
Oh, it's this one! No way! He's in red leather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I've never seen this, but I've seen like pictures of this. Like this is a very familiar look for me.
If you want to see where he came from, what got him all the roles that he did in the 80s, watch that stand up. And for people who are listening, if you're easily offended, you do not want to watch that. You don't want to.
I mean, it was that in the two years he did on SNL around that time.
Yeah.
Well, the SNL stuff I know about. The SNL stuff I've seen. I love his SNL stuff.
Yeah, so my introduction to Eddie Murphy was Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, no way.
That's the as far as I can remember, that is the first Eddie Murphy movie that I saw.
I remember loving that movie when it came out. Is it as beloved as I sure hope it is, or
Actually, hold on. I take that back. It
Okay.
might have been. It might have been Coming to America.
see? I saw that first for the podcast. Like I didn't see that till what last year we did an episode on it.
We did Coming to America on the podcast.
We might not have. Maybe I. No. Sorry, I watched it on holiday with Romana's family because they got offended I hadn't seen it, and I went, "Wait, we'll do it for the podcast." And they went, "You're not waiting. You're watching it now."
I was
So-
gonna say. I know we've done
show.
a lot of episodes. I didn't think we did enough that I forgot what films we did and didn't do.
Sometimes I think
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah. But no, the first one I saw in theaters, I vividly remember being Dr. Dolittle. My uncle took us. Because I don't think I saw Mulan in theaters, but I knew who Eddie Murphy was because he was a big celebrity in the 90s.
Mhm.
So
I don't think I ever connected him to Mushu until I was like an adult. To be fair, they were like very separate entities for me for no reason. Because I think it's like Robin Williams, where they're just like, let's put this famous comedian and animate him and let him do his thing.
yeah.
Speaking of letting him do his thing, what did you guys think of the humor in the movie? So you guys had said that it was kind of light humor, but in doing research for the movie, which I did do this time and am not currently doing live, I promise, I found out that generally the director let him just improvise a lot of his lines. In fact, the super cop scene where he had kind of made up that lie about the two cops, that was entirely improvised. So largely, a lot of the direction and a lot of what you see on screen in terms of jokes that he does are improvised and are him. And did those land for you?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
I could tell it was like his sense of humor, and they kind of just let him do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have a comedian who's made it big, and then they get a script and they're the star of it, they take it and make their own.
Yeah.
Make it their own thing. So he does it here, like Jim Carrey does it with Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Farley did it with Tommy Boy. Like, you take the script and you adapt it to your comedic talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they certainly did it well. Ryan, what did you think?
Yeah.
I mean, they let him. I mean, I agree, and they let him do it in the right spots, and it wasn't too much.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a good balance too, because it wasn't just him riffing and going off constantly. There was also a lot of physical humor that was going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would say, probably my favorite moment of his is when he's pretending to be the customs investigator
Oh yeah.
inside the warehouse.
Yeah.
And the one guy says, "Well, don't you have a warrant for this?" And he just goes off. I'm like, "You want me to get a warrant? You don't want me to get a warrant."
Is that your Porsche in the parking lot?
Yeah.
I love it. What was my favorite part, hands down, was after he gets arrested when he first gets thrown out the window in Beverly Hills. He just goes, "It's the nicest cop car I've ever been in. So clean. This is nicer than my apartment." Like, I love that. It's so funny.
I just love his reaction getting thrown out the window. He's like, "You're arresting me for getting thrown out a window?"
Yeah.
I literally said out loud when I was watching that scene, I was like, "Well, it's LA Cops. What do you expect?"
Yep.
It's LA Cops.
Well, I mean, that
LA
was
Cops
so...
in the
It's
80s.
LA Cops. It's the mid '80s.
Yeah.
Like, dude, there's a reason.
So, I mean, that
There's
was...
a reason why it burned in the early '90s. There's a reason.
Well, that was part of this movie. That's what got the movie made. So this is a bit contested, but the person who was in charge of Paramount at the time, Michael Eisner, who later went on to become the head of Disney for a while, he had gotten pulled over in Los Angeles, or specifically in Beverly Hills, by a policeman, and noticed how incredibly indignant and self-righteous the cop was, and was really offended to have been spoken down to like that much by a policeman. And he's like, well, there's got to be something here for a story. And that's kind of what the rough outline of the original plot of this movie was his reaction to, I got a speeding ticket, I'm mad at this police department, let me make a pastiche of how they are. And that's kind of like what this is, and it kind of like shows it. Like, my favorite thing is that the movie itself went through a couple of iterations. Axel was supposed to be a cop from Pittsburgh first, but they figured that the juxtaposition wasn't enough So they decided to make him a cop from Detroit to show him in stark contrast to the Beverly Hills Cop. Like, guys, now that you've seen this, do you want to go live in Beverly Hills?
I've wanted to live in Beverly Hills since I saw Troop Beverly Hills.
What a callback, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Goldie Hawn.
That's just one version. No, that's not Goldie Hawn. It's Shelley Long.
Nah, with blonde hair.
All blondes
Ouch.
in the 80s were the same.
Ryan, are you moving to Beverly Hills anytime soon?
No.
No.
No. I L.A. and Beverly Hills seems to be a place to visit. You know,
Uh-huh.
but I've seen the movie Volcano, and I understand that the tar pit's basically just like a lava vent, and I don't want to be buying property in a city that's going to wind up being like, you know, like the fount of a volcano. So I'm not going to move there.
So Weezer wasn't able to sell you on Beverly Hills?
I mean, if the song was better, maybe.
Oh, ouch. I got to tell you, that was
Ooh.
my least favorite part about living in LA, is anytime there was any kind of seismic activity, collectively every single person would go, you know, that means the big one is 0.256 more likely to happen now, right? Do you know that if another one happens, it raises it again, so now it's 4.78 likely, or percent likely to happen. And all anyone would talk about is that the big one is coming. And it made me anxious.
It is.
It made me anxious all of the time. Anytime there was even a little rumble, I'm like, is this the big one? Is this the precursor to it? I still, to this day, cannot watch Spider-Man Far From Home without like freaking out a little bit when Jake Gyllenhaal takes off his helmet, because that's when the biggest earthquake I've ever been in hit.
Do you know what Spider-Man Far From Home and Taylor Swift have in common?
What?
They both killed Jake Gyllenhaal on a bridge.
Wow. Did you come up with that? That was really good.
No.
Okay.
No, that's saw that one on the internet.
It was a good one though. Well done.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ryan, you had mentioned about the cop drama in this, and that was actually the one thing that I thought was pretty well realized in this, at least from my second watch of this. I think as a kid, I didn't really care about the cop drama part of it. I was just like, funny jokes in places. But I actually did like the cop drama part of it. What did you think of it?
Well, I just I like Eddie Murphy when he's actually acting, not comedically.
Yeah.
And I would say he's doing that in about half of this movie. So I really actually enjoyed that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this movie, and I feel like it was done really well. It was just your typical, 1980s, the sergeant tells the cop not to do something, so the cop goes and does it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Type narrative. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I mean, he's gonna be, breaking a bunch of people's civil rights throughout this whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
So good thing it's a comedy. And then it just, it was good. It was a solid storyline. It was a solid narrative.
But I think it's a good hook. I think the whole like your friend got murdered on a drunken night out in Detroit, and you go back to Los Angeles to help see what happened or investigate his murder, is an interesting plot hook. Like that kept the emotional stakes of it relatively high. Alan, did you like the cop drama part of it?
Cop stuff. Like I don't want to classify it as drama, but it's you could tell that the cops are kind of on the payroll of the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that captain's not like taking money, and that's why he was like so like put him in cuffs. He's the bad one.
I mean, that's fair.
So,
one of the things I learned while making this movie, I actually learned a lot, not while making the movie, about researching the movie. I learned about specifically the Beverly Hills Police Department's design. So obviously the production wasn't allowed in Beverly Hills Precinct. They were allowed to shoot outside of it. That building that they walked out of is actually the Beverly Hills Precinct. It's kind of pretty, like, for a police precinct. But the inside of it was actually based on War Games, the Matthew Broderick movie. The design of the precinct was actually the director's previous design for what the command center in War Games was going to be before he got fired off of that movie. So he's like, well, screw it. I'm just taking it over to this movie now, which I thought was a lot of fun.
I'm fine with that, but that makes total sense because when they
Yeah.
showed the outside and the inside of it, like I don't care how rich of a neighborhood you're in, the police department's not going to look like NORAD. There's no way that's what that looks like. And then, funny enough, in the second movie, it's kind of they toned it down a little bit. So, like in the second one, they go into like the main room where like all of the desks would be like open air and everything.
Yeah.
And instead of having it look like NORAD, they pretty much built like office dividing walls with windows over the different sections to make it look like to make it look more like hallways than just like a vast open like high tech thing.
I mean, I kind of like that though, because it feels like they kind of split the difference, right? Like they started out with a super high tech looking thing, like high tech. I thought the tech in this was very funny, like from a 2024 perspective, but for the 80s it would have been super high tech. And they had to like split the difference.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this has to look like an actual precinct. It has to look believable for the 8 seconds we're going to be in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the design choice makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I have to ask, was there any other standout actor in this? We talked about Eddie Murphy a lot. We talked about, but like me personally, I just love seeing Judge Reinhold in things. I think he's incredible.
The Honorable Judge Reinhold.
Sorry, that's my fault.
You can call me Judge. No, he stood out for me too. Just because he plays like such a naive like rookie, like he does like the clueless rookie very well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed his performance. I'm glad he's in the sequels.
Oh yeah, because he's even in the new one, I think too, right? Axel
Yeah.
F. Yeah.
I think they got everyone back from.
They got everyone back.
I think so.
Except for Mikey. Poor Mikey.
Yeah, I don't know.
Brian, what did you think? Was there any other standout person in the movie for you?
Actually, there was a person who stood out.
Yeah.
And it's not even any of the other actors that like had that like, you know, that well, it was one person he interacted with, and it was Damian Wayans. He was the banana guy.
Damian Wayans,
he was,
yeah.
Was that who that was?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was him. Because as soon as I saw him, I was like, yes, that's Blank Man. I know him. Like that's it's like that's Blank Man.
I know him from My Wife and Kids.
Yeah, so it's him, like he was one of the people that stood out, but like there were also a lot of people in it, and I'm trying to see if this one actor is who I actually think he is. Yeah, Paul Reisner.
Tell me about Paul Reisner.
I know him from stuff.
Oh,
Paul Reiser's in Aliens. He's in Mad About You.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Yes.
He was on that Hulu sitcom Reboot.
That's right. Forgot about that one.
That was so good, and I'm still mad that they canceled that.
There's also
my thing is Aliens and Mad About You, but that's where like I know him from.
My absolute favorite one, and I don't know that you guys have as much connection to this one, is it's not like a main character. He was just kind of around, but it was, let me get his name right, Jonathan Banks. The guy
I know Jonathan.
Yeah, the guy that plays Mike Ehrmantraut in Breaking Bad. It is so funny to see him so young, because for me, he's just like this like quintessential old man badass, and it is so funny
I had to look it up because I was like, that's either Jonathan Banks or Tobin Bell. The guy who plays Jigsaw. I couldn't tell which one it is because you put them side by side now, and I still don't know if I could tell.
Was Tobin Bell in anything before Saw?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be weird for me to see. I forgot. So, you know, as a kid, obviously, I had no connection to Jonathan Banks at all, and really didn't play the actors game, like knew who actors were very well. So I forgot what happened to his character. And from the second I saw him on the screen, I go, I'm going to make a joke that this is a prequel to Breaking Bad. I'm gonna make a joke that it's a prequel to, and then he died, and I went, I can't do it. Damn it. So that was my most disappointing death of the movie.
He faked his death.
He
faked
did.
his death, and
Yep, perfect.
he moved to Arizona.
And then he
Or New
faked his death,
Mexico,
went
whichever
to
state
be
it
a
was.
cop in New York or somewhere else, and then
Yeah.
he moved to New Mexico to be a crime boss.
I love it.
Which would
I
be
don't even-
great.
that's
He
not
was
even-
an
that's not
extra
even-
in one of the Die Hard movies.
Yeah.
So we can tie those on.
Yeah.
All right, I got to know then, because this is my favorite thing to ask about old comedies. And, it's kind of unfair to ask because it all kind of happens. But did any of the jokes in this not work for you?
To be honest, not really. And I'm really trying to think back because at this point, when I watch movies like this, I just tend to I'm like, okay, some of these, I was like, I don't even think about it. I just know that, like, going into it, that, like, humor gets dated.
Yeah.
And I don't even think of it. If it's funny, if it's funny to me, I'll laugh at it. If not, I'll move on. Depending on the severity of it, I might think to myself, like, that's not gonna fly. But other than that, I don't really keep a mental file of it, so I can't really tell you if there's one that I can't really point one out because I didn't think of it.
You know what?
They were as it was happening.
And that's fair, because it's easy to point to some parts of the movie and be like, okay, this didn't age well in 2024, and, like, do it that way. I think for me, there was a part that I think I just didn't understand the joke, and that was with Serge.
Okay.
I think the only part I liked about Serge where he goes, Achmael, Foley, like, where he just, like, gave up on saying Axel. I think that was probably the funniest part, but then part of me was like, oh, he just can't pronounce his name. And, like, I've had that plenty of times here. I've been the person that can't correctly pronounce the name. And that kind of feels bad to laugh at. So I thought it was funny, but then I felt bad about it. Like, other than that, I'm not sure I understood the joke around his character.
I think that's just something from the era, because he kind of became a big deal after this.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a sitcom, Perfect Strangers, where he just did that accent.
Oh.
Bronson Pinchot. I don't know how to say his last name. I don't speak French. But he became, like, he's done that voice, that character, for years now.
Whoa.
So I'm trying to remember the name of the character. So I don't want to get it wrong. But his character was like a big thing where he moved in with his cousin from a different country. Balky.
Belky.
No,
Balky.
Oh.
Okay. It took me
Yes.
a little bit to figure out who you guys were talking about, and I just figured it
yeah.
out.
Did you get it, Serge? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you see, to me, you see characters like him in comedies up
Yeah.
until the very, early millennium. And even today, you'll see characters like that, where people are just kind of like, their personality is set to 11,
Yeah.
instead of just being like a 7 or an 8. I don't really think that there's anything bad inherently about his performance
Yeah.
in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, LA stereo. It's just the whole, like, Beverly Hills. Like, that's one of the type of personalities you'll run into, because it's, yeah.
But he was able to make a career out of that character. Like
good for
him.
Perfect Strangers was on for 8 seasons, 151 episodes. Like, and then he went right on to Step by Step.
As Belky too?
No, but it's kind of the same deal.
Gotcha. Okay. I was hoping that he was, like, secretly the connecting tissue between all of these, like, disparate sitcoms. Like, there's, like, an MCU of sitcoms out there, all connected by Belky. But, I mean, Ryan, you're right. Like, this exact scene happens in, like, the Rush Hour movies. And, like, those are another series of movies that I want to watch that I used to love. Like, I remember, like, this, like, they walk into, like, a clothing store and, like, there's a shop owner whose, like, personality is turned up to 11. Like, this was just kind of a scene that happened for a while.
Yeah, and Yeah, and so I mean that's that, and I think partly why it just struck me as just being normal is
Hmm.
because of like Alan said, he like in pulp culture, he was that character in other things for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So watching it too, like I recognized it. I didn't know where I recognized it from,
Hmm.
but I recognized it. So
Well, I mean, it's great to hear that he actually made a genuine career about it. One of the few facts that I found out about this movie is that he was actually one of the reasons that filming commenced on time, because this movie had a really fraught production. At one point, Sylvester Stallone was tied to this movie. At one point, they wanted Scorsese to be the director, which weird choice. It was a whole different movie, and I'll tell you about the Stallone thing in a second. But they like had given him a date that they were going to start filming, and they moved it, and then they moved it again, and then they went to move it a third time, and he went, "Guys, I'm vacationing in Italy. You cannot move it again, or I'm not going to be in your movie, and I'm just going to go to Italy." And they went, "Fine, we'll start filming." Literally because they needed to get him on that scene. So like, I mean, I heard he was like relatively unknown, so like they must have seen something in that character to like start filming around that, which I think is
Yeah.
kind of a cool little
it was
thing.
the way he said lemon twist.
You know what? I googled it, and I do want an espresso with a little lemon twist now. I think that would be really pleasant. I think that he's onto something. Um, okay, so we put it off for way too long. I have to talk about it, guys. The soundtrack.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Tell me about it. Has it also been stuck completely in your head since you heard it? What, I listened to or watched this
No.
movie? No, I watched this movie
No.
Sunday. I still go around the house going, like it's stuck in my
Yeah,
head.
I
I've
can't.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
literally haven't thought about it until like just now that you mentioned it.
You have so much better willpower than I do. I'm so proud of you.
I just watched it today, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind. But I'm always expecting the bing bing after
Yeah.
it from Crazy
Yeah.
Frog.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was funny because
That was my reaction.
it's funny how like that like really took off from this movie. And it's funny how it's used too, because Romana watched it with me for the first time, and that song came on, and she goes, "Oh, I know this one," and I go, "Yeah, this is where that song came from. They made it famous." And then about an hour later, she goes, "Do they have any other songs than that one song?" And I went, "No, it's in every scene that he's in. That's all they play when he's around,
Yeah.
and it's basically just that the whole
Yeah.
time."
Yeah. The reason why it hasn't been in my head since I watched it like 2 days ago is because I listen to a lot of EDM.
Okay.
So like I heard it and I'm like, oh, that's a classic. Okay. And the movie was over. Then I was like, okay. Brain just like turned it off like it does with most of the repetitive beat music that I listen to.
And then you put on Darude Sandstorm to go to sleep afterwards, didn't you?
It's got to be the hardcore version.
I like that you know the versions. Oh, good. So, last thing that I have to bring up is, have you guys been exposed to any part of this in any other media? So, this is one of those classic films where other movies, other media, other TV shows, they will make reference to this movie. Are you familiar with any of the other ones? Uh, and if so, what is your favorite one? I have one that I love. If you guys need some time to think.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
So I'll give two then. First one is Family Guy. There's an episode of
yeah.
Family Guy where he keeps getting distracted by a dance, and it keeps cutting to him in Cleveland. Cleveland's wearing the red leather, and he's singing along and dancing to Axel F, which I absolutely love. But the other one, my absolute favorite one, is Mythbusters. Mythbusters did an episode about movie myths, and they tested the banana in the tailpipe myth, which is like, at least in my mind, one of the most famous things to come from this. Which, by the way, in the original script, wasn't bananas. It was supposed to be potatoes in the tailpipe, but the lobby of the hotel they were filming in had this big tray of fruit, and they're like, well, it doesn't make sense for him to grab a potato. Let's do bananas. And by the way, in case you were wondering, the myth was busted. Bananas in the tailpipe wouldn't actually stop a car like that.
What about bananas in the gas tank?
You know what? Probably. I didn't think about
I
that.
bet
That
that
would
would work.
probably total the car.
Probably.
You
Find
worship
out
the
next week
banana
on
first.
you have to bust this.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the next thing we do.
How many bananas did they test on the show?
I
I
think
forget because I know I saw that episode too,
so. I
but
think
I
they
can't
started out with
remember.
one because MythBusters always does this thing where they like start out with like as close to like the myth as possible, and then they go extreme. And I think
Yeah.
they started with one and ended with like a genuine bunch of bananas, like an actual like
Yeah.
like 6 to 8
Okay.
bananas.
Yeah,
and, like,
because it was like 3 that he put into the movie. It was 3 bananas they have him shove up the tailpipe.
yeah, how was that supposed to work, Ryan? Because like even like I think even as a kid, I just assumed I was too stupid to understand what was happening with the car that the bananas stopped it. But like now that I know that it's fake, like what was that supposed to be doing?
It was supposed to prevent the exhaust from leaving out the tailpipe to cause like some type of like backfire or something that would like stall out the engine because you would have fumes not being able to leave, staying in the engine and not, being able to have enough oxygen to light the spark to ignite the fuel. Like that, I believe that's the premise for it. So if you
Okay.
block up the tailpipe enough, you'll create like a backlog of pressure, and that would prevent like the internal combustion process from happening. I believe that's how it is. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just kind of going off my base knowledge here, trying to
Hey, I mean
put that together.
that's as good of anything as I could. I have one last dumb piece of remembrance that I just came up with about this movie. Uh, and this is so stupid, but when they get delivered that late supper, as like Axel's like, "Hey, I know you guys are here. I ordered your room service." One of the things he specifically orders him is a shrimp salad sandwich, and I remember being a little kid going, "That's a funny sandwich. Those don't exist." And for years thought that was a joke, that they made up the idea of a sandwich as a joke. And only until I really like grew up and traveled a little bit more, but then more specifically moved here where you can buy a prawn mayo sandwich anywhere, did I go, "Oh no, that's a real sandwich and not the punchline to a joke." I have nothing I want to ask you guys about that. I just need you to know how naive I was, literally up until and well into adulthood, and this movie showed me that.
So, Devin, you lived in LA.
Yeah,
How much time did you spend in Beverly Hills while you were there?
a bit. I spent a bit, like to the point where like I knew where the shots were that they were taking it. I knew that like when it had a couple of shots of him like driving down the road, I'm like, that's not Beverly Hills. That's very funny. Or like when he would like drive in certain places, I'm like, oh, he made a left that we didn't see off camera. Like that part was really fun for me, and it was fun to see the different stores that are there that aren't there anymore. So yeah, I genuinely like I had to drive through Beverly Hills every day on my way to the office when I worked out in Culver City. So I was there enough. I stopped at the mall a couple times, which isn't there. It was a big gross building in this movie, which was really fun to see. But the gas was still expensive in the movie,
Yeah.
just like it is now.
I got nothing else
Yeah.
for Beverly Hills Cop. Are you
Right.
excited for Axel F?
I am. I genuinely am. I realize I have 3 other movies to watch or 2 other movies to watch before I get there, which is a little bit disappointing. But Ryan said the second one was still fun, which makes me feel like it's not going to be a bad other 2 movies to watch. What about you guys? Are you going to watch Axel F when it comes out?
I'm going to watch 2 and 3 first.
Okay.
I wanted to get through them before today, but I just didn't have time.
Yeah, it happens.
Ryan, your sound cut out.
Oh, I think we lost Ryan's sound again. Fortunately, we're just about to wrap things up. So,
Yeah.
Alan, is it your pick next?
Yes, next week will be Ryan. Nod your head if you can hear us. Okay, so
Perfect.
Ryan can hear us. We're sorry to cut you off, Ryan. We're just gonna wrap up the show. Next week is my pick. I decided you guys both have themes that you're doing. I'm going to pick a theme now too. Ryan, I think we
Yes.
have your sound back. We're gonna go back 30 years. I'm gonna focus on films from 1994.
Oh, nice.
'Cause
Okay.
1994 was a good year for film. And so I'm going to pick a film that came out in July of 1994, which is the James Cameron film True Lies.
Oh, fun. Okay.
We haven't done that on the show, right?
Didn't you just say that you remembered all of the things we did on the show?
I'm double checking myself. Devin, have you seen that before?
I don't think I have. Let me make sure.
Brian,
though.
have you?
No.
Brian, have you seen True Lies?
Yes, I have. I
Okay.
have seen it,
Okay.
so
Okay. So yeah, now that that's also available from on digital, like The Abyss, we're going to do another James Cameron film. I'm going to do the one James Cameron film Brian's not going to make us watch.
Perfect.
That's not Avatar 2. Yeah, so next week will be True Lies starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I
Ugh,
can do the episode like this the whole time.
you better.
That was me, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold.
Is it Jamie Lee
fantastic.
Curtis?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm not going to tell you anything about the movie, but yeah, it's one that I've wanted to do for a while because it's like a spy thriller and all of that. So
Ooh,
tune in
exciting.
next week for True Lies. I guess we didn't talk about the holiday. Are we doing the same day next week because of the 4th?
Oh my gosh, it is the 4th, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't.
mean,
I don't celebrate traitors, so I'm fine to go.
All right. Yeah, we'll be live next Wednesday on the 3rd.
Perfect.
So stay tuned for that. If we change the day, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
But make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Twitch, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. You can also subscribe to You Have to Watch This podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are currently updating the feeds to catch up with all of the episodes that we've dropped over the last month and a half. And we will probably be taking a break later on in the summer, but right now we're still good to go. So
Perfect.
until next time for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And we will see you